Hello there. We're going to talk about analgesics. So we have 5 questions here. The discussion of these 5 questions will enable us to gain an introduction to analgesics. So the first question is, what are analgesics? So analgesics are drugs used to relieve pain. Which brings us to the second question. What is pain? So pain has been defined as an unpleasant sensory and emotional experience associated with actual or potential tissue damage and described in those terms. So it's an unpleasant sensory and emotional experience associated with actual or potential tissue damage and described in those terms. Okay? So the uh, point is, it's an unpleasant sensory and emotional experience. Okay? Which brings us to the next question. If it is unpleasant, why should it exist? Here we are considering it from the evolutionary standpoint. So if it's bad, why should it continue to exist? Why has it been um, preserved in evolutionary time? So to develop an understanding of this, let's consider 2 scenarios. So imagine one is walking barefoot, okay, and one steps on a thorn. Okay? So the pain impulse makes the person take notice. Okay? And it brings about some behavioral changes, which could be the person would remove the thorn, possibly bathe the wounded area, maybe apply a dressing, and maybe the person would be careful in walking uh, barefoot subsequent to this incident. Let's consider another scenario. Let's consider there is a barbecue party and one is on the grill and accidentally touches the hot grill with the bare hand. An instant reflex pulls the arm away, thereby preventing continued damage to the hand. Okay? So, if we consider these two scenarios in total, we would understand that pain has a protective function. And that protective function basically protects the individual, and possibly that's the reason why it has been conserved in evolutionary time. There is a benefit to the um, organism. Which brings us to this next question. If it has a protective function, okay, why should it be managed? Why should we manage pain if it has got this beneficial role? Um, the reason is that um, not all pain, but some pain, like say chronic pain, doesn't have the protective function of acute pain. Okay, so a person who is in chronic pain, there is a definite reduction in the person's quality of life. So this is the reason why pain should be managed. So the overall goal would be to improve the quality of life of the afflicted. Okay? Which brings us to the next question. As healthcare providers, why should we care? Why should we study analgesics? The reason is that pain is the most common reason why people seek medical care. Okay, so in our practice, we are going to see people afflicted with pain. The second reason is, more often than not, let me write that down, more often than not, patients are either under-medicated or over-medicated. So this gives us healthcare providers a wide canvas to contribute, to intervene in these patients, and definitely it would improve the quality of life. And so that's why we should study pain, we should understand pain, and we should understand it enough to be able to intervene. Okay? So in these five questions that we have considered, we have introduced ourselves to the subject of, to the study of analgesics. Okay. Okay. So these five questions, let's summarize. Okay. Let's summarize what we have learned. Okay, so this is the summary slide. So we learned that analgesics are drugs that are used to relieve pain. And pain is defined by the International Association for the Study of Pain as an unpleasant sensory and emotional experience associated with actual or potential tissue damage and described in terms of such damage. Okay. Analgesia is the inability to feel pain while conscious, and that distinguishes it from anesthesia. In anesthesia, the person is not conscious, and therefore the patient is not able to feel pain. But in addition to pain, the patient is not able to feel other impulses as well, like temperature, like touch. Okay? So all sensations are lost in a person who is under general anesthesia. Okay? Within the ambit of the lecture, analgesia would be defined as the use of drugs which would enable the patient not to feel pain whilst being still conscious. Pain is subjective. So if we go to the definition again, we understand that it is an unpleasant sensory and emotional experience. Now, the emotional experience will vary from patient to patient. So as a result, the experience of pain would be different from individual to individual. And therefore, we say pain is subjective. And then we understood that pain is one of the main reasons why people seek medical help. So so we need to understand pain. We also looked at pain having a protective role, but we also learned that certain pains, like chronic pain, decreases the quality of life, and therefore it should be treated, or rather it should be managed.